friends. Welcome to Sky House Herbs podcast. I'm Ashley Elenbaas, a clinical herbalist, and in this space, I share my knowledge and experience with plant medicine to help you on your own journey of healing and transformation. Join me in exploring the ancient wisdom of plant spirit medicine and how it can be used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk to experts in the field and share stories from people who've been transformed by powerful plant allies. New episodes are released each Monday, so please subscribe. And now, let's explore this mystical world of plant medicine together. Hey everyone, welcome in. Today we are featuring one of my favorite plants, Holy Basil. I'll talk about all three varieties of Holy Basil, how you can use it, and some of their particularly helpful parts. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please take 1 second, click the subscribe button. It really helps other people to find me, and it supports my work, and it lets me know that you guys are out there listening and watching. Give it a thumbs up if you find it helpful. All right, Holy Basil. I just went out to my garden and I harvested. Look at how beautiful this is. I mean, come on, if this is not, oh, actually, look at, there's a buddy in here I forgot to take out. We had a little tag along. This is, maybe some of you know this one. This is marshmallow. This is a beautiful marshmallow plant. So it is beautiful, but you can see that it is different. I'm going to set her to the side, but this is the plant we're going to focus on. This particular variety is the Kapoor variety, also called Temperate Tulsi. This is the one that grows here in North America. The other varieties are more tropical, so they do really well in hot, tropical climates, and I'm excited to share with you all of them. Today's episode is part of my Plant of the Month series, so if you want to learn about other herbs, go to my playlist, Herb of the Month, and you can learn one by one the magical and medicinal qualities of different herbal allies. And I'll include a link down below in the description so that you can find over, I think I have like 30 plants. So if you want to study herbs, this is a great way to just pop on an episode and listen and let the wisdom of the plants move through your body. And it's a great way to study herbal medicine. So let's talk specifically about this species, some of its common qualities, its known constituents, and its energetics. Let's start by talking about the Ocimum species. So these are species in the Lamiaceae family, and these are mint family plants. So if we look at this herb, we can see the stem itself is square. And if you kind of turn it and flip it, you can see the squareness. Another way you can see that it is in the mint family is a cross section of the stem, which shows all four sides, showing that it is in fact a square stem. Okay. Mint family plants, like Tulsi, also have opposite leaves. So the leaf stems, they grow across from one another. We can see here on this smaller branch that the leaves are not growing alternately, but they're growing opposite. So they go in straight across from the stem. And they also have this very characteristic mint family flower. I think of the mint flower or mint family flowers as being kind of like little orchids. Now these ones have gone to seed, so you can't really see the flower that well. But if we look up a little close, we can see number one, that it's a little bit fuzzy, but we can see these little purple flowers. And so these are, most of the flowers on your Tulsis are going to be purple or purplish white. Some of the common names that you'll hear this plant being referred to is Holy Basil. This is synonymous or the same as Tulsi. Sometimes it is called the sacred herb or sacred Tulsi or Shri Tulsi. And these are all terms of endearment. Shri means beloved or the revered, the high one. So Shri Tulsi is referring to its holy reverence and the reverence that this plant is given in India, where it is natively grown. This herb also grows native to Sri Lanka and native also in Thailand, where it is used in foods and as a medicine. One of the most common questions I get as an herbalist when it comes to Tulsi is, there's all these different types. Are they the same? How are they different? Do I need to choose one or the other? And yes and yes. All four species are very similar. They have very similar chemical compounds like the volatile oils and eugenol, and all of them have very similar qualities in that they were all used pretty interchangeably as a plant to uplift the spirits. They all contain similar compounds that help break down mucus and congestion. They were all considered in Ayurveda to be rasayana herbs, which means that they help with longevity and increasing the body's ability to overcome stress, to overcome hardships, and to just keep the body very, very vital and strong. There are four main varieties of Tulsi that I'll share with you today. I don't have all of them because they don't grow here in North America. Let me talk you through these four different types of Tulsi. The first most common type of Tulsi is called Rama or Rama Tulsi. And this is the species Ocimum sanctum. And this is the same species, we could say, as the Kapoor variety. So let me clear up a little bit of confusion about the different varieties of Holy Basil. All of the Holy Basils fall under the umbrella of Ocimum sanctum. And this is the general term for the Holy Basil as a species. This sanctum is also interchangeable with tenuiflorum. So you'll see some people that sell this plant as Ocimum sanctum, some people as Ocimum tenuiflorum, but botanically they're actually both considered under the same umbrella. But then we have different varieties, and this is where it gets important. And the best way to tell the variety is by looking at the live plant, because each of these varieties look different. And so when you are buying it online, if you are not going through a reputable herbalist or herbal seller, I would recommend going through someone like Rico Check through Strictly Medicinals. I'll include a link below if you want to buy the seeds or the live plants. But if you're just out at a general nursery, unless you're actually seeing it and comparing it, you might not know just by the Latin name which variety you are getting. So let's talk about these different varieties. The most common variety that's used medicinally is called Rama. And Rama is a beautiful green Tulsi. It grows in tropical climates, and it is a very, very sacred herb. This one is the classic one that we see as referred to as Tulsi Devi or Tulsi Maharani. And this is the variety that is worshipped in India as a goddess, is an embodiment of the goddess Radharani or Lakshmi. And you'll see it found in temples. It is often worshipped. The leaves are used in ritual practices in the Bhakti Yoga tradition. So this is the one that we see most common. There's also a purple variety called Krishna Tulsi. Krishna Tulsi has purple on its leaves. So it almost looks like if you've ever seen a purple basil variety, it has these sort of lines of purple in the leaves. That is the Krishna Tulsi. And that one is often seen and labeled as Ocimum tenuiflorum. But again, sometimes in commerce, these two are interchanged. The Krishna Tulsi is the most warming of all the Tulsi varieties. So if you want something that is going to be very, very mucolytic, that's going to be very invigorating for the nervous system, invigorating for the digestive system, if you're using it internally, then you're going to want the Krishna Tulsi. It is the most activating, and it is the highest in essential oil compounds. The third variety is the ones that grow in the forests throughout India and throughout Asia. And this is the wild Tulsi or Vana variety. So the Vana variety is often cultivated in forested areas for its medicinal uses. Vana Tulsi is wild Tulsi, and it grows quite tall and leggy. It's more like a bush. And this one, again, is more of a tropical plant. The most common Tulsi that we see in medicine and in commerce is Rama Tulsi. This variety is probably the one that you'll find in tea bags, you'll find in herb shops, and it is considered to be one of the most I would say, neutral of all of the Tulsis, in that it is still a little bit warming, but it is also considered to be less activating. And so this is a great one if you already tend to run a little bit warm or you tend to run hot. Because of the camphor in it, it opens up the pores and actually helps the body to cool itself down. So this is considered by some in Ayurveda to be a cooling Tulsi, while it's not necessarily technically cooling the way we talk about it in Western herbalism. Rama Tulsi supports the immune system. It supports the lungs. It's a really nice tonic for building overall vitality in the system and for supporting deep immune activation. The last variety is Kapoor, and this is the one that I grow in my gardens because it is often referred to as Temperate Tulsi. Again, the Latin name is Ocimum sanctum, but if you are looking for a variety that you can grow in European gardens, in gardens in the United States, this is really the only one that will survive and do very, very well. It is not considered to be one that is worshipped in temples in India. However, it is still loved for its very uplifting and warming aromatic scent. This variety has a very sweet and light and almost fruity smell to it. Some people call it kind of a tutti frutti type of scent. I think to me, it's very sweet. It has a very uplifting, very sweet, camphorous smell to it, and it makes a very, very lovely tea. Sometimes you'll see the Kapoor variety being given the Latin name kilimandscharicum, and so if you see kilimandscharicum listed, or so it would be Ocimum kilimandscharicum, they're referring to this specific African or temperate Tulsi variety. To give you an idea of what this herb looks like when it's dried, here is my dried Tulsi. I dried this one maybe about a week and a half ago versus fresh. You can see the difference in the quantity. So just know that if you're going to grow this for use as a tea, you need to grow a lot of it because it shrinks down quite significantly. This bunch was probably about the same size when I dried them. One thing that sets this herb apart from many others is its long history of use in traditional spiritual practices. This endears this herb to me so much. And while I know the Kapoor variety wasn't used in temple worship, the smell, the scent, and growing it in my garden really uplifts my mood and my spirits. Let's talk a little bit about how this herb was used in Ayurveda and some of the qualities that were assigned to this herb. This herb was considered to be a rasayana, and this is true for all four of the different varieties we spoke about, that all four of these Ocimum sanctum varieties are considered to be herbs of longevity. They are said to be very good for the brain, for the mind, for keeping the mind sharp and active and young in the way it's able to process and learn. It was considered to be a holy plant for meditation and a helpful ally for those sitting deep contemplative times of reflection and study of sacred texts and sacred literature and sacred subjects. Holy basil was grown in courtyards and in gardens and outside of homes in India as an herb of protection, and also that was used for purification and rituals of bringing clarity into a home and into the minds of those who lived there. Planting Tulsi in your garden was said to uplift the spirits of all those living nearby. And personally growing this in my garden, when I walk by, the smell is so strong, you can't help but notice it and smile. Holy basil was also considered to be a very sacred plant by those who study Bhakti Yoga, which is one of the branches of yogic practice and study. It was said to be an herb that opens up the heart and instills devotion into the heart and the mind of the practitioner. It was also used to make mala beads, which were beads used for meditation and reciting sacred mantras or sacred symbols and devotional chanting. These are my mala beads that are from India. My husband got these when he went to India. And these are carved out of the wood of the sacred Tulsi plant. And so what is done is you've got this sort of, I call it the mother bead, but it's also called the God bead or the Krishna bead. And you would just hold it in your fingers like this, leaving your index finger away, because the index finger was said to represent the ego, or like the small self. So you keep that separated. And you would chant the names of God, sacred syllables or sacred sounds, one at a time, and go all the way around the 108 beads. And that would be considered to be one round of mantra practice. It's a very beautiful way to still the mind and to connect the heart with something bigger and something sacred. So if you're interested in this, you can find Tulsi mala beads available through makers on Etsy, and you can support small businesses in that way by purchasing sacred Tulsi beads by people in India who hand carve them and make them. I'd like to share with you some books that are really helpful if you want to learn more about Holy Basil. This book is by David Winston. It's called Adaptogens, Herbs for Strength, Stamina, and Stress Relief, and David Winston and Stephen Mames. I'll include a link in the description. He goes through, or they go through, each different adaptogenic herb and give you a bunch of details. Hilda, lay down. I wanted to read to you one passage from this book about modern uses and the way that herbalist David Winston uses this, which I found very interesting. He says, in my clinical practice, I use holy basil to enhance cerebral circulation and memory. It is used in Ayurvedic medicine to relieve mental fog caused by chronic cannabis smoking. It can be combined with other cerebral stimulants such as rosemary, bacopa, and ginkgo to help people with menopausal cloudy thinking, poor memory, attention deficit disorder or ADD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and to speed up recovery from head trauma. So we can really think about the idea of this. This is a very top-heavy herb. This one's starting to wilt because I picked it a few hours ago. But it has this very upright, very strong cerebral signature to it in these tall flower spikes or these tall flower heads. And it is, you can feel it when you take this one. I actually am drinking it right now in my tea mug. I have a blend here of holy basil and goldenrod and licorice right now that I'm drinking. You can really feel it clearing up your head. It's very, the aromatic essential oils, they really open up your sinuses and they bring circulation to the brain. So if you're someone who is struggling with brain fog, with difficulty concentrating and focusing, or have any cognitive impairment, this would be a really good herb for you. I'll include a link for this book if you want to learn more about other herbs and adaptogens. Another way this herb is used medicinally is for what a lot of herbalists now call it stagnant depression. And this is a term, I don't know if it was coined by David Winston or Matthew Wood, but they both talk about this cerebral sort of type of depression where it's more acute and it's more situational. And this can be where a person is maybe going through a very stressful time in their life and they start to get really stuck. And this stuckness turns into depression. Now, in my work as an herbalist, I think about the 6 tissue states and that depression stagnation tissue type or combination that can happen when we have kind of coldness and stuckness and stagnation that pile up and make a person feel very lethargic and very heavy and very dull. And this is often when I use holy basil as a medicine. I do find it works best as a tea rather than a tincture. I know a lot of herbalists like to use it as a tincture and it can work well, but there's something about the aromatic oils that come out best in a tea, in a hot tea specifically, that gets the blood moving, that gets the brain thinking, and the smell of it and sustained smelling of these aromatic oils really do increase the mood and really do help to lift that sort of depression state. We can also think about this depression tissue state happening in the gut when people are having difficulty digesting foods just sort of sit there. They might tend towards more chronic constipation and holding on to things rather than letting them go. Tulsi can be a really nice herb for warming the core of the body and helping the body process, digest, and let go of whatever it is they're gripping onto. Another book that I have found to be very helpful is a newer book written by my friend Kat Mayer called Energetic Herbalism. It's also beautiful. Look at that cover. It's just lovely. She talks about holy basil being used for spirit agitation. She says any mental and emotional state that caused tissue excitation can be called spirit agitation. The manic state in which all systems are in hyper-excited states is an extreme example of this kind of heat. Herbs that serve to calm the restless, agitated spirit include passion flower, mimosa bark, holy basil, our herb here, reishi, and skullcap. So isn't that interesting as well? So when we have spirit agitation and there's sort of this anxious stuckness and excitement in the system, we can also use holy basil to help clear that manic type of spirit heat. The third book I wanted to share with you is called The Yoga of Herbs, an Ayurvedic Guide to Herbal Medicine by Dr. David Frawley and Dr. Vasant Lad. And in this book, there is a passage just specifically on holy basil. And here they're talking about all basil varieties. They call it Ocimum SPP. When anytime you see SPP, they're talking about all of the different species. And in this book, he talks about it being specifically helpful for the respiratory system, the nervous system, and the digestive system. It works on the plasma, the blood, the marrow, the nerves, and the reproductive organs. And they say here, next to lotus, basil perhaps is the most sacred plant of India. Its quality is pure sattva. Basil opens the heart and mind, bestowing the energy of love and devotion or bhakti. It is sacred to Vishnu and Krishna. It strengthens faith, compassion, and clarity. And I thought that was so interesting because if we look at these more Western herbalist perspectives, the way that holy basil helps to invigorate the tissues and clear depression and stagnation. In ancient India, they saw this herb as one that also helps to open up the heart and provides clarity of the heart and mind because of its innate sattvic or goodness quality. In Ayurveda, there are 3 different sort of modes of matter. There is Rajas. Rajas energy is really fast, it's hot, it moves, and tamas energy is very stuck and still and stagnant, and sattvic energy is very clear and pure and good. And so they're saying in this book that this herb in particular, in itself, in its body, it is sattvic. So it is goodness embodied in a plant. Tulsi stems are worn as rosaries or mala beads, and promote the energy of attachment to what is good. Basil gives the protection of the divine by clearing the aura and strengthening the immune system. It contains natural mercury, which, as the semen of Shiva, gives the seed power of pure awareness. A plant of basil should be kept in every house for its purifying influence. Basil absorbs positive ions, energizes negative ions, and liberates ozone from the sun's rays. It is a diaphoretic and febrifuge in most colds, flus, and lung problems. It removes excess kapha or heaviness from the lungs and dampness of the lungs and nasal passages. It increases prana or the air, breath, life force, and it increases sensory acuity. So it sharpens our mind, it sharpens our senses. There's really not much this herb doesn't do, and I would say this should be an essential one that everyone has in their medicine cabinet. In terms of modern research and its plant actions, this herb has many studies showing its effect on the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is a fancy way of saying our stress response. Studies have shown that this herb helps to regulate the body's stress response so that we respond more accurately to stressors in the environment, that we don't go way overboard, but we don't become under activated as well. So they're in each body is a very moderate response to stress. And this plant helps us to find that moderate response. In animal studies, pre-treatment with methanol extracts of holy basil, which is basically like a tincture of holy basil, reduced brain damage caused by reduced cerebral circulation. So we can think about strokes here. Alcohol extracts of this herb showed significant anti-stress activities in mice exposed to acute and chronic noise stress. So here I'm thinking about, kids who have really acute sensory perception of sound. So this might help them not be so sensitive to loud noises. Use of holy basil prevented increased corticosteroid levels that indicate elevated stress levels. A water extract of holy basil, or this is like a tea, protected mice against radiation damage due to the liver and chromosome damage to the cells. It prevented this damage by reducing hepatic lipid peroxidation and increased the presence of two powerful cellular antioxidants, superoxidase dimutase and superoxidase catalase. There's also a lot of evidence in animal studies showing it can be helpful with balancing insulin levels in the body and keeping blood glucose levels more stable. And that can be very helpful if you are more reactive to sugars and insulin or have lower reactivity. One human study found that holy basil helped patients with type 2 diabetes and had significant reductions in blood sugar levels while fasting and smaller decreases in blood sugar levels and cholesterol levels after eating. So we can think about using this herb as a way to help modulate blood sugar levels as well. In terms of dosage, I mentioned I prefer to use this herb as a tea. I feel that its aromatic qualities, and there's something about tasting it and smelling it that I think are part of its medicinal value. As a tea, you can take about a tablespoon of the dried herb per 1 cup of water. If you like a stronger tea, you can go up to 2 tablespoons of the dried herb for 2 cups of water. So you can play with the dosage of it until you find a dosage that feels good. It should feel strong. If you go with the Krishna variety, just be aware that you might get a little bit of an analgesic effect on the tongue due to some of those stronger volatile oils. And that's safe. It's just a little bit stronger. So if you're using the Krishna variety, maybe go down to about a tablespoon versus 2 tablespoons of the Vana or the Rama or the Kapoor varieties. As a tincture, this herb has a classical dosage range of 1 to 3 milliliters up to 3 times a day. You can start off with 1 milliliter, which is about a little less than a dropper full, maybe about 20 drops in a little bit of water, and do that 3 times a day. If you're really looking for increased immunity, increased support with stress responses, increased support with depression or anxiety, you do want to dose it at that 3 times a day dosage range, because that will allow it to have a stable amount in your blood throughout the day. Whereas if you just take it in the morning and evening, you miss, it'll fade by the mid-afternoon, which is likely when you're going to need it the most. So think about that when you're taking your tea or you're taking your tincture. This herb is considered to be generally safe in India. It is taken, throughout the day by all different people, including pregnant women and breastfeeding women. However, here in North America, we do recommend that women who are pregnant avoid it because of those higher levels of essential oils, which can be sometimes in some cases an emmenagogue or a stimulant to the uterus. And we don't want to stimulate the uterus during pregnancy, especially in the early first trimester. So just to be safe, avoid it in pregnancy. And in breastfeeding, I would say use it with caution, go on the lower side of the dosages, and use a more gentle variety like the Rama or the Vana or the Kapoor. There is some speculation that this herb may affect the way that our bodies process other medications. So if you are taking other medications like blood thinners or things that have a very specific narrow therapeutic window, you may want to avoid taking Tulsi to keep your body from processing those other compounds too quickly. As always, if you have any concerns with Tulsi, please speak to a medical doctor or speak to a trained clinical herbalist who can help you figure out the exact dosage that is right for you and that is also safe with any medications you are taking. My videos do not constitute medical advice at all. These are just for your own educational purposes. In closing, I just want to tell you again how much I love this plant, and I am just enjoying, I'm getting an aromatherapy right now, just sitting here with the fresh plant. So if you do have space in your garden or if you have pots, try growing the Kapoor variety, either in a pot outside your front door or maybe around a doorway or in a garden space. It is just a lovely plant to live beside. And one of the things I really love about this plant is its connection to the divine feminine. And as someone who is such a deep earth worshiper and worshiper of the divine feminine, this plant, because it has thousands and thousands of years being worshipped as an embodiment of the feminine, like literally this plant is seen as Lakshmi. This plant is worshipped as a goddess. That is something that makes it a very dear plant to me and a very dear plant in my medicinal apothecary. I also love that this herb is such a crossover between physiological medicine, but also spiritual medicine. When we take Tulsi, we can know that we're not only taking compounds that are really good for our immune system, that are really good for our circulatory and digestive, respiratory and reproductive systems, but we're also taking an herb that is used for the heart, that is used to help calm the spirit and help our hearts more deeply align with the devoted way or the path of devotion. And I think that is so lovely. And this herb is that bridge. It creates a bridge between the relaxation response of our nervous system, but also the opening response of the heart and is used in India to help cultivate openness throughout all of the chakras in the chakra system as this plant of goodness, of sattvic energy. I would love to hear your experiences with Tulsi. Do you grow this herb? Do you take this herb as a medicine yourself? What do you love about it? And how do you like to incorporate its medicine into your spiritual life? Of course, if you have any questions, please leave those. I love to hear your comments and questions. Please just add those in to the discussion in the comments below, and I will respond with maybe some of my own experiences with using this plant. Thank you again for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, please take a second to subscribe and also hop on over to my course pages. I currently am offering 2 different courses that I teach for people that are wanting to study herbal medicine, a year 1 foundations course and a year 2 herbal integration and practicum course that's starting actually next month. So if you want to join in, please sign up today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about studying with me and the Sky House Herb School programs. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode.